Silence crashed over the high Galactic Council chamber as the transmission from Earth flickered onto the massive central screen. 7 of the most powerful leaders in the known galaxy sat frozen in disbelief, their eyes fixed on the message that had just rewritten centuries of diplomatic precedent. No civilization had ever answered the Council like this. The recording ended with a calm human voice. Message received. No thanks. We're doing just fine on our own. End of transmission. Nothing more. No apology. No explanation. No request for reconsideration. At the head of the chamber, High Chancellor Vex Morta remained perfectly still. The oldest living Valoran had guided the Council for more than 2 centuries, witnessing the rise and fall of empires, the surrender of proud civilizations, and the first contact of hundreds of species. Never, not once, had anyone rejected the Council's authority so casually. One by one, all 4 of his pale silver-blue eyes blinked in succession, while the color of his skin darkened with barely restrained disbelief. "Play it again," he said quietly. The order echoed through the chamber. The transmission replayed. The same calm human voice. The same 7 words. No thanks. We're doing just fine on our own. For the first time in 200 years, no one in the Council knew what to say next. Captain Lisa Bennett of the Earth Defense Force appeared on screen. She was a human female with short brown hair and a stern expression. Her uniform was simple but neat. She spoke directly and without ceremony. "On behalf of the United Earth Government, I must decline your invitation to join the Galactic Council at this time. No thanks. We're good on our own." The screen went black again. The Council chamber erupted into noise. "Impossible. An insult. They cannot refuse us." Vex Morta raised his long 6-fingered hand, and the room quieted once more. In 10,000 years, no species has ever declined membership. This is unexpected. Ambassador Ult of the Merizian Collective shuffled her tentacles nervously. Perhaps they do not understand the honor we offer them. They are, after all, barely a century into space travel. Or perhaps they understand too well, said Krell, the massive reptilian representative of the Draconian worlds. His voice was like stones grinding together. Human advancement has been concerning. Their rate of technological growth exceeds predictions by 300%. Vex Morta turned to a small gray-skinned being in the corner. "Zin, your species has the most extensive study of humans. Explain this response." Zin stepped forward. The observers had monitored Earth longer than any other Council race. "Humans are unique in our experience, Chancellor. They evolved on a high-gravity world with extreme climate variations and unusually high biodiversity. Their entire history is marked by conflict and competition. Where our civilizations developed through cooperation and slow, steady progress, humans advanced through crisis and threat." Zin pulled up images on the main screen. Earth cities, technology, military formations. They went from first flight to landing on their moon in 66 years. From splitting the atom to global information networks in under 50. Their pattern is always the same. Crisis, innovation, advancement. They thrive under pressure. Krell slammed his scaled fist on the table. All the more reason to bring them under control. Now, we've seen their entertainment broadcasts. They imagine themselves defeating vastly superior forces through what they call ingenuity. Their fiction is filled with scenarios where they battle alien civilizations. Ambassador Kelthraxis, ancient even by the standards of his long-lived Etherian species, spoke for the first time. His voice was calm and measured. "I have seen species like humans before, long ago. They remind me of the Proxima before the severing." The room grew still. The severing of Proxima was rarely mentioned in Council chambers. It was the Council's greatest failure, a wound still fresh after thousands of years. "The Proxima were proud," continued Kelthraxis. "Creative, defiant. We tried to force their compliance. The resulting war nearly destroyed the Council." Vex Morta nodded slowly. "What do you suggest, old friend?" "Send a diplomatic mission. Not a demand, but a genuine attempt to understand. We have approached humans as we would any other species. Perhaps that is our mistake." The Chancellor considered this, then turned to a human-like robot in the corner. "Connect me with John Carter." Minutes later, The face of a human male appeared on screen. John Carter was the council's expert on newly discovered species. His brown skin was wrinkled from age, his hair gray at the temples. "Chancellor," Carter said with a respectful nod, "I've been following the situation with Earth. I assumed you'd call. We need your expertise, Carter. The humans have declined. Council membership, we must understand why." Carter's expression showed no surprise. "Chancellor, with respect, I've warned the Council about this possibility for years. Humans don't respond well to authority they didn't choose. Your invitation wasn't really an invitation. It was phrased as an expectation. All species join. The Council stated Krell. It is the natural order." "Not to humans," Carter replied. "In their history, enforced natural orders are something to be challenged. They value independence above almost everything." Vex Morta leaned forward. "Can you establish meaningful contact? Learn their true reasons?" "I can try," Carter said, "but I'll need complete diplomatic freedom. No ultimatums, no shows of force." "Agreed," said the Chancellor, ignoring Krell's hiss of disapproval. "Select your team and depart immediately." After the call ended, Vex Morta turned to his advisor. "Tix, access the secure archives. I want everything we have on the Proxima incident." Tix looked alarmed. "Chancellor, those files are sealed by Council directive." "I am the Council," Vex Morta replied quietly, "and I fear we may be making the same mistake twice." Meanwhile, on Earth, Captain Lisa Bennett entered the Underground Command, center of the United Earth Government. General Kate Monroe waited for her, along with the 5 members of Earth Security Council. "How did they take it?" asked Monroe, a tall woman with dark skin and sharp eyes. "Exactly as intelligence predicted," Bennett replied. Complete shock followed by confusion. Alan Wright, head of Earth Intelligence, pulled up intercepted transmissions on the main screen. "Their communications have exploded since your message, Captain. They're scrambling to understand our refusal." An older man with white hair spoke up. "Do they suspect we know the truth about them?" "I don't think so, President Harris, right?" answered, "Our decryption of their internal communications was completely undetected. They have no idea we know what council membership really means." "Good," said the president. "Dr. Owens, what's your assessment of their likely next move?" Patricia Owens, an expert in alien psychology, stepped forward. "They'll send a diplomatic mission. The council always follows the same playbook. First, the invitation, then diplomacy, then economic pressure, and finally military action if needed, but they prefer to maintain the illusion that species join willingly." "And we know that's a lie," said Bennett. "Every member species we've secretly contacted tells the same story. Initial independence followed by gradual loss of autonomy, special taxes for protection, restricted development of certain technologies. Eventually, they become nothing more than resource providers for the older council races." President Harris looked around the room. The vote was unanimous. "Earth will not join the Galactic Council under any circumstances. We continue with Operation Independence. Dr. Owens, prepare for their diplomatic mission. General Monroe, accelerate the defense grid deployment and write, 'Sir, find me everything you can about something called the severing of Proxima.'" It came up in their emergency session. As the meeting ended, none of them noticed the small probe watching from orbit, transmitting everything back to John Carter's ship as it prepared to jump toward Earth. The game had begun. The meeting room beneath the Rocky Mountains was Earth's most secure location. 20 feet of solid rock surrounded it on all sides. No signals could get in or out without passing through 7 layers of security. Here, the fate of humanity would be decided. General Kate Monroe stood at the front of the room. Behind her, a large screen showed images of alien ships in Earth orbit. The ships were beautiful in a strange way with smooth curves and soft blue lights. They looked peaceful. The people in the room knew better. The diplomatic vessel from the Galactic Council entered our solar system 6 hours ago. Monroe said, "They're requesting permission to land and meet with our leaders." Alan Wright, head of Earth Intelligence, stood up. He was a thin man with tired eyes and a serious face. "We've been monitoring their communications. Their official message is friendly, but their private channels tell a different story." Wright pressed a button on his tablet. The screen changed to show a translation of alien text. This is from Admiral Zix Porath to the Council. It says, "The humans must be brought into the fold before they develop further. Their rate of advancement threatens the established order." President Harris frowned. "They're afraid of us." "Yes, sir," said Wright. "But more importantly, they're afraid of what we might become." Dr. Patricia Owens, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology, joined the conversation. She was shorter than Monroe, but commanded just as much respect. "We've analyzed 50 years of Council history from the data we've intercepted. Their entire system is built on control. New species are welcomed, then gradually restricted." She pulled up charts on the screen. The Trilarians joined the Council 80 years ago. Within 10 years, their military was integrated into Council forces. Within 20, their most promising scientific minds were invited to work at Council research centers. Now they're little more than a mining colony. "And that's our best-case scenario if we join," said Monroe. The room was quiet as everyone considered the implications. Then a new voice spoke from the back. "It's worse than that." All heads turned to look at Sam Harris, a civilian engineer who rarely attended these meetings. He was younger than most people in the room with messy hair and a rumpled shirt, but when he spoke, everyone listened. "I've been studying the technology readings from their ships," he said, walking to the front. "They're using ion propulsion systems we developed 30 years ago, artificial gravity we theorized 15 years ago, and communication systems that are actually less advanced than what we're using now." He looked around the room. "Don't you see? The Council isn't advancing. They're stagnating. They haven't had a major technological breakthrough in centuries." President Harris leaned forward. "How is that possible? They've had interstellar travel for thousands of years." "Because of how the Council operates," Wright explained. "From what we've gathered, their society discourages competition. Everything is regulated, controlled, planned. Their technology advances through slow, careful steps approved by committees. While Earth," began Monroe. "While Earth has faced disaster after disaster," continued Sam. "Wars, climate crises, pandemics. Each time we've been forced to innovate or die. It's not pretty, but it works." Dr. Owens nodded. "The Council sees our chaotic development as dangerous. They don't understand how we can advance so quickly without central planning." Sam pulled out his own tablet and projected a new image. It showed a complex web of energy fields surrounding a small device. "This is what I've been working on. A defensive shield system based on principles we discovered by analyzing Council communications." "Is it operational?" asked Monroe. "Not yet," said Sam. "But it will be. And when it is, their weapons won't be able to touch us." President Harris stood up. "How long?" "2 weeks," said Sam. "Maybe less if I get the resources I need." "You'll have them," promised the president. He turned to the rest of the room. "Now, about this diplomatic mission. What do we know about the leader?" Wright consulted his tablet. "His name is John Carter. He's unusual, actually works with the Council, but isn't part of any member species. He specializes in first contact situations." Monroe raised an eyebrow. "A human name probably chosen for our benefit," said Dr. Owens. "Makes him seem more approachable." "What's our play here?" asked the president. Monroe straightened. "We delay. We agree to meet their diplomatic mission, but we set the terms. Neutral location, limited numbers, full security protocols. We give Sam time to finish his shield system, and then ask someone from the back of the room. Then we tell them the truth," said the president. "That we know what Council membership really means, and we're not interested." "They won't take that well," warned Wright. "No," agreed Monroe. "They won't." In the silence that followed, they all understood what wasn't being said. Earth was choosing a dangerous path. The Council had resources and experience that humans couldn't match. But they also had weaknesses: complacency, bureaucracy, and fear of change. "There's something else you should all know," said Wright. He looked uncomfortable. "We've been searching for information about the severing of Proxima that was mentioned in the Council meeting. We found something." He put a new image on the screen. It showed a star system with 5 planets, or rather what had once been 5 planets. 3 were now just fields of debris. The Proxima were a species that defied the Council about 6,000 years ago, Wright explained. They refused membership and continued developing independently. When they began expanding to other star systems, the Council decided they were a threat. They destroyed 3 planets? Monroe's voice was hushed. Yes, said Wright. But that's not the interesting part. The Proxima somehow knew the attack was coming. They evacuated those planets and then what? Asked the President. Then they disappeared completely. The Council recorded no further contact with them. But there are rumors, myths really, about an advanced civilization operating in the shadows. Some Council records refer to ghost ships with technology far beyond their own. Sam looked excited. You think the Proxima are still out there, that they survived? I think, said Wright carefully, that we might not be the first species to tell the Council no. And I think that's why they're so worried about us. We remind them of something that scares them. President Harris looked around the room at Earth's leaders. Set up the meeting with this John Carter. Neutral location, on our terms, and get Sam everything he needs. As they filed out of the room, Monroe stayed behind with the President. Do you think we can really do this? She asked quietly. Stand against something that's existed for thousands of years. The President looked at the image of the destroyed planet still on the screen. We don't have a choice, he said. Humanity doesn't do well in cages, no matter how comfortable they might seem. Above them, beyond the mountain in the atmosphere, John Carter's ship waited in orbit, and inside it, Carter reviewed the probe's transmissions with growing concern. These humans knew far more than they should. The Council had seriously underestimated them, and if they knew about the Proxima, Carter made a decision. He would not report everything to the Council. Not yet. First, he needed to understand what humanity was planning. Because if Earth was following the Proxima path, the galaxy was about to change forever. The Grand Council chamber on Valoris Prime fell silent as High Chancellor Vex Morta entered. His usually bright blue skin had dulled to a pale gray, showing his stress. The 7 days since the humans' refusal had been the most difficult of his 200-year career. The report, he said simply, taking his seat at the center of the curved table. Admiral Zix Porath stood. Unlike the Chancellor, his red scales seemed more vibrant than usual, a sign of excitement in his species. The humans have agreed to meet with our diplomatic mission. However, they have set conditions. What conditions? Asked Krell, the massive reptilian representative. They insist on a neutral location, an orbital station of their own construction at the edge of their solar system. They limit our delegation to 5 members. No weapons, no ships larger than a diplomatic shuttle within 1 light hour of the meeting place. Krell slammed his fist on the table. Outrageous. They dictate terms to us. They do, said Zix Porath. And there's more. They've accelerated the deployment of a defensive system around their planet. Our sensors detect unusual energy patterns. They're installing something new. Ambassador Olt shuffled her tentacles nervously. How is this possible? Their technological level should not allow such rapid deployment. We have underestimated them, said Vex Morta quietly. The question is by how much? The large screen at the end of the chamber activated. John Carter's face appeared, his expression serious. Chancellor, Council members, he greeted them. I've made contact with the humans. They're not what we expected. Explain, ordered Vex Morta. They know about us. Not just our existence, but our methods. They've been intercepting and decrypting our communications for years. They know what happens to species that join the Council. Shocked murmurs filled the room. Council encryption was supposed to be unbreakable. Impossible, said Krell. They're bluffing. They quoted internal messages word for word, replied Carter. They know about the resource quotas, the technology, restrictions, everything. They even mentioned the severing. At this, several council members gasped. Ambassador Kel Thraxus, who had been silent until now, leaned forward. They know of the Proxima. They know of the name, said Carter, but I'm not sure how much else. They're searching for information. Vex Morta closed all 4 of his eyes briefly, thinking, Your assessment, Carter. They won't join the Council under any circumstances. Their entire history and culture makes them resistant to external authority. But they're willing to talk. They want to establish boundaries, not start a conflict. Yet they prepare defenses, noted Zix Porath. Wouldn't you? Asked Carter. Their intelligence suggests you might force the issue. Krell stood, his massive form towering over the others. which is exactly what we should do. This delay gives them time to prepare. I propose immediate action, a show of force to demonstrate the consequences of defiance. The Draconians stand ready, continued Krell. We have a battle group near the human system. One swift strike to disable their defenses, then occupation of their major cities. They will learn respect. Vex Morta looked troubled. The Council does not operate this way. We integrate species peacefully. Usually, said Krell, but these humans are different. They're advancing too quickly. If left unchecked, in a century, they could rival even the founding species. The room grew quiet as Council members considered this. I cannot authorize an attack without full Council vote, said Vex Morta. Eventually, we will proceed with diplomacy. Krell's scales darkened with anger. Then the Draconian Consortium will act independently for the safety of the Council. He stormed out, his guards following. Can he do that? Asked. Technically, no, said Vex Morta, but the Draconians control the largest military force in the Council. We've never tested their loyalty this way, Carter, he continued. You must warn the humans. If Krell attacks, it's without Council approval. They won't believe me, said Carter. And frankly, Chancellor, from their perspective, this looks like the Council's standard approach, claiming peaceful intentions while preparing for force. Then we have failed before we've begun, said Kelthrice sadly. The meeting ended with no resolution. As Vex Morta left the chamber, he motioned for Carter to follow him to a private room. There's something you're not telling the full Council, said Vex Morta once they were alone. Carter hesitated. The humans have developed a shield technology, something new. My sources suggest it could render conventional Council weapons ineffective. How? Our weapons technology has been stable for millennia. That's exactly the problem, said Carter. The Council hasn't truly innovated in centuries. Humans innovate constantly. Vex Morta looked suddenly old. Like the Proxima. Yes, agreed Carter. Very much like the Proxima. Meanwhile, on the orbital station now named Harmony, Lieutenant Commander Diane Foster supervised the final preparations for the diplomatic meeting. The station was small, but elegant, with a central meeting chamber surrounded by quarters for both human and alien delegates. Defense systems, she asked her second-in-command. Online but hidden as ordered, he replied. The shield generators are disguised as standard power systems. If they scan us, they'll see nothing unusual. Foster nodded and checked her tablet. Sam Harris's team reports the planetary shield is at 60% and rising. 2 more days and Earth will be fully protected. Will we need it that soon? Foster looked out the viewport at the stars. Intelligence picked up unusual movement in the Council fleet. A group of ships has broken formation and is moving toward our system. Draconians. Yes. Aggressive species reptilian. They're the military arm of the Council. Time to arrival? 36 hours if they maintain current speed. The officer looked concerned. The meeting is scheduled for tomorrow. Exactly, said Foster. They're planning to arrive during negotiations. Classic pressure tactic. Do we postpone? Foster shook her head. No. President Harris and General Monroe believe we should proceed. Show them we're not intimidated. She turned as the communication panel chimed. That's the signal. The Council shuttle has entered our solar system. Their diplomatic team will dock in 6 hours. Is John Carter with them? Yes. Along with representatives from 4 major Council species. Foster looked again at the stars, wondering which one the Draconian ships were passing at that moment. Do you think this will work? Asked her officer. Standing up to something that's ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Foster thought about Earth's history, about all the empires that had seemed eternal until they fell. Nothing lasts forever, she said, especially systems built on control rather than cooperation. The Council's mistake was thinking they could treat us like all the others. In the darkness of space beyond Neptune's orbit, the Draconian battle group accelerated. Commander Vra had his orders directly from Krell, arrive during the negotiations, and deploy an attack formation. The humans would see the consequences of defiance. Brax did not know about the small, stealthy vessels tracking his ships, nor did he know about the unusual energy readings his sensors occasionally detected. Readings that matched no known Council technology. In the shadows between stars, something was watching. something that had waited thousands of years for another species to take the path of the Proxima. The Harmony Station's meeting room was designed to impress. The walls were made of transparent material, showing the stars outside. The large round table in the center had places for both humans and aliens, with special chairs designed for different body types. Lieutenant Commander Diane Foster stood by the entrance, watching as the alien delegation entered. John Carter led the group. He looked human but moved with a strange grace that suggested otherwise. Behind him came 4 aliens, each from a different council species. Most striking was the Valorian diplomat with blue skin and 4 eyes that blinked in sequence. Foster recognized him as Tix, advisor to the High Chancellor. "Welcome to Harmony Station," Foster said formally. "I'm Lieutenant Commander Foster, your host for these negotiations." Carter nodded. "Thank you for receiving us. May I introduce Tix of the Valorians, Alt of the Meridian Collective, Zin of the Observers, and Kelthraxis of the Aetherans." Foster noticed that no Draconian was present. Intelligence reports had warned her about their separate movements. "The Earth delegation will join us shortly," she said. "Please be seated." As the aliens took their places, Foster touched the small device in her ear. "Status update," she whispered. The voice of her security chief replied, "Draconian battle group continuing approach. Current ETA 50 minutes. Planetary shield at 85% and rising." Foster's face revealed nothing as she took her own seat at the table. The door opened again, and the human delegation entered. Colonel Ryan Jacobs led the group, followed by Dr. Patricia Owens, Alan Wright, and finally, Ambassador Daniel Pierce, Earth's newly appointed representative to extraterrestrial civilizations. After formal introductions, Pierce opened the discussion. "We appreciate this opportunity for dialogue. Earth wishes to establish peaceful relations with the Galactic Council and its member species. However, we must be clear from the start. Earth will not be joining the Council." Tix blinked his 4 eyes, rapidly a sign of distress. "Ambassador, perhaps you don't fully understand the benefits of Council membership." "We understand perfectly," interrupted Pierce. "We've studied the experiences of over 20 species who joined in the last 1,000 years. The pattern is clear and consistent." The aliens exchanged glances. Carter leaned forward. "You've been gathering intelligence on the Council." "Of course," said Wright, "just as you've been studying us. The difference is we've learned to decode your transmissions." Kelthraxis, the ancient Etherion, spoke for the first time. His voice was deep and resonant. "You know then about the stability we provide, the peace we maintain. Peace through control is not peace," said Dr. Owens. "It's subjugation dressed up as benevolence." The meeting was interrupted by a soft chime. Foster checked her tablet and felt her heart rate increase. She signaled to Colonel Jacobs, who excused himself from the table and joined her near the door. "The Draconians?" he asked quietly. "Yes, 6 warships approaching fast. They'll be in weapons range in 10 minutes. Jacobs nodded and returned to the table. "It seems," he said calmly, "that some members of the Council are not as committed to peaceful dialogue as others." He touched a control, and a holographic display appeared above the table. It showed the approaching Draconian ships, red dots moving steadily toward the blue dot that represented Earth. "Did you know about this?" Pierce asked Carter directly. Carter looked genuinely troubled. "The Draconian Consortium is acting without Council authorization. High Chancellor Vex Morta specifically rejected military action." "Yet here they come," said Jacobs, 6 warships during a peaceful negotiation. Tix stood up, his blue skin paling. "This is not the Council's way. I must contact the Chancellor immediately." "Feel free," said Foster, "but I doubt it will make a difference. The Draconians are 20 minutes from weapons range. Even at light speed, a message to the Council homeworld would take hours to receive a response." Ola's tentacles twisted anxiously. "What will you do? Your planet has no defense against Draconian warships." Foster and Jacobs exchanged a small smile. "Are you certain of that?" asked Jacobs. He touched another control on the table. The holographic display changed to show Earth now surrounded by a faint blue glow. "Sam Harris's shield is operational," Foster announced. "As of 15 minutes ago, Earth is protected by technology even the Council doesn't possess." The aliens stared at the display in disbelief. Carter was the first to recover. "That's impossible," he said. "The energy requirements alone would be beyond Council science," suggested Wright. "Perhaps, but not beyond ours." In space, the draconian ships approached Earth's orbit. On the command ship, Commander Vrax watched the small blue planet grow larger on his screen. His orders were simple: demonstrate draconian power, force the humans to reconsider their defiance. "Weapon status," he ordered. "Charged and ready, Commander," replied his weapons officer. "Targeting information locked on their major cities." "Good. Prepare to, Commander," interrupted the sensor operator. "I'm detecting a mass of energy buildup around the planet." Var frowned. "What kind of energy?" "Unknown, sir. Pattern matches nothing in our database. It's forming some kind of barrier around the entire planet." "Impossible," said Vra. "No species has that capability. It must be a trick. Continue approach." Back on Harmony Station, the negotiators watched the holographic display as the draconian ships entered Earth orbit. "They're charging weapons," reported Foster, reading data from her tablet. "And now we find out if Sam's shield really works," muttered Jacobs. On the display, the lead draconian ship fired. A beam of intense energy shot toward Earth, striking, the blue glow surrounding the planet. For a moment, the shield flickered, then it stabilized, absorbing the energy completely. The aliens at the table gasped collectively. Calthraxis gripped the edge of the table, his ancient eyes wide. "The Proxima Shield," he whispered. "They've rediscovered the Proxima Shield." Colonel Jacobs touched his communicator. "All defense platforms, this is Colonel Jacobs. Execute Operation Swift Response. Disable only. I repeat, disable only. Around Earth, hidden defense platforms activated." Small, fast vessels emerged from concealed docks on the Moon and in Earth orbit. They accelerated toward the draconian ships, moving with impossible speed. On the command ship, Vrax watched in growing horror as his sensors detected the approaching human vessels. "Evasive action," he ordered. "All ships, return fire." But the human vessels were too quick. They darted around the draconian ships, firing precise bursts of energy at engines, weapon systems, and communication arrays. Within minutes, all 6 draconian warships were adrift, disabled, but not destroyed. On Harmony Station, the room was silent as they watched the holographic display show the swift, decisive victory. "That," said Ambassador Pierce, breaking the silence, "was a demonstration of restraint, not power. We disabled your ships without destroying them. Their crews are unharmed." He stood and looked at each alien representative in turn. "Earth wants peace. We want trade, cultural exchange, scientific cooperation, but we will not be controlled. We will not be restricted, and we will not be threatened." Tix seemed unable to speak. Ult's tentacles were completely still in shock. Zinn, the observer, was making rapid notes on a small device. Only Calthraxis and Carter seemed unsurprised. "How long?" asked Carter. "How long have you had this technology?" "Long enough," replied Jacobs. "And there's more we haven't shown yet." Foster's tablet chimed again. She checked it and smiled. Sam Harris reports, "The planetary shield is now at 100% capacity. Earth is fully protected." Calthraxis slowly rose from his seat, his ancient eyes fixed on Pierce. "I have watched many species rise and fall over my long life, but only once before have I seen what I see today," the Proxima said. "Right." "Yes," confirmed Calthraxis. "You walk their path. The question now is whether you will share their fate or fulfill their promise." As if on cue, every screen in the meeting room activated simultaneously. A symbol appeared, a spiral galaxy with a single star highlighted at its edge. "What's happening?" demanded Foster, looking at her tablet. "This isn't us." On every screen, in every language, words appeared beneath the symbol. "We have been watching. The time has come." Silence filled the meeting room on Harmony Station. The mysterious message still glowed on every screen. "We have been watching. The time has come." No one moved. No one spoke. Then, in the center of the room, the air began to shimmer. A hologram appeared, a figure in a simple gray suit. It looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was pale, its eyes large and silver. When it spoke, its voice was musical and calm. Greetings to the representatives of Earth and the Galactic Council. I am Arya, emissary of the Proxima Collective. Kelthraxis, the ancient Ethether, fell back into his chair. After 6,000 years, he whispered. Arya smiled. Yes, Elder One. We have been watching from the shadows for all this time. Colonel Jacobs stepped forward. You're the Proxima, the species that defied the Council. We are, confirmed Arya. Or rather, what the Proxima became after we left Council space. Lieutenant Commander Foster looked at her security screens. How are you projecting this hologram? Our sensors detect nothing. Your technology is impressive, said Arya. But ours has had millennia to evolve beyond detection. Tix, the Valoran representative, found his voice. The Council believed your kind was extinct. That was our intention, replied Arya. After the Council attempted to destroy us, we realized open defiance would only lead to more conflict. So, we disappeared, moving beyond the known galaxy to develop in peace. Yet, you've been watching, said Ambassador Pierce. Always, Arya acknowledged. Waiting for another species with the potential to change the established order. Waiting for humanity. Carter stepped forward. Why reveal yourselves now? Because the pattern is repeating, said Arya. The Council fears what is different, what evolves too quickly, what refuses to be controlled. They feared us, now they fear you. The hologram changed, showing images of destroyed planets, the ruins of the Proxima homeworld. This was the Council's answer to our independence, said Arya's voice. They called it the severing, removing a dangerous branch to save the tree. They failed to realize that ideas cannot be severed so easily. The hologram returned to Arya's form. We did not come to fight the Council then. We do not come to fight now. We came to offer humanity a choice that we never had, an alliance of equals. Dr. Owens leaned forward. You shared your shield technology with us through Sam Harris. We provided inspiration, said Arya. The breakthrough was his. Your Sam Harris has an intuitive understanding of energy patterns that reminds us of our own scientists. We merely helped him see what was already in his mind. A new alert sounded on Foster's tablet. More ships entering the system, she announced. Not Draconians, much larger signatures. Outside the station's windows, space itself seemed to bend. 3 enormous vessels appeared, each at least 10 times the size of the largest Council warship. They moved with impossible grace for their size, taking positions around Earth's orbit. The Proxima fleet breathed Kelthraxis, the ghost ships of legend. Arya nodded, a small part of it, enough to ensure that today's discussions continue peacefully. On the disabled Draconian command ship, Commander Vra watched the massive vessels appear with growing horror. All emergency power to communications, he ordered. We must warn the Council. Back in the meeting room, Arya's hologram turned to the Council representatives. For 6,000 years, we have built a different kind of interstellar community, one based on mutual respect and true cooperation, while the Council stagnated, enforcing stability through control. We flourished through freedom and diversity. She turned to the humans. We offer Earth membership in this community, not as subjects, but as partners. Your innovation, your adaptability, your determination, these are precious qualities the galaxy needs. Ambassador Pierce looked thoughtful. And the Council? What happens to them? That said, Arya is partly up to you and to them. All eyes turned to the Council representatives. Tix looked overwhelmed. Old's tentacles twisted anxiously. Zin the Observer was taking notes faster than ever. Carter's face was unreadable. Kelthraxis slowly rose. I have lived long enough to see the full circle. When the Proxima left, I was a junior diplomat. I argued against the Council's decision. Then I argue against its path now. He turned to Tix. The Valorans must lead the Council toward change. Tell Vex Morta what you have seen here. Tell him the Proxima live, and they offer a different way. Tix blinked his 4 eyes in succession. The Council has existed for 10,000 years. Our entire civilization is built around it, and it can exist for 10,000 more, said Arya. But it must evolve. The age of control must end. Colonel Jacobs cleared his throat. What exactly are you proposing? "A new beginning," said Arya. "Earth will not join the Council, but neither will it stand against it. Instead, we offer a middle path, a new alliance that can work alongside the Council, showing by example the benefits of true cooperation." Ambassador Pierce nodded slowly. "Earth would be interested in such an arrangement. The Council will resist," warned Carter. "Some will," agreed Arya. "Others will see the opportunity. Change is difficult but necessary." On Foster's tablet, a new message appeared. She read it and looked up in surprise. "We're receiving a direct transmission from High Chancellor Vexam Morta. He's requesting to join this meeting." Arya smiled. "The first step is already taken." A new hologram appeared beside Arya's, the blue-skinned form of Vex Morta. He looked from the Proxima representative to the humans, then to his own delegation. "We received the Draconian distress call," he said, and then another message from a source we thought long dead. He focused on Arya. "You are really Proxima." "We are what the Proxima became," she replied. Vex Morta was silent for a long moment. 6,000 years ago, the Council made a terrible mistake. I have studied the records. I know what was done." He turned to the humans. "Earth has shown us something important today. You could have destroyed the Draconian ships. You did not. You show strength and restraint, qualities the Council once valued above all others." "Chancellor," began Tix, "the humans have allied with the Proxima." "No," corrected Ambassador Pierce. "We're considering all our options. What Earth wants is independence and fair treatment. We're open to peaceful relations with all who respect that." Vex Morta's hologram nodded. "Perhaps it is time for the Council to remember its original purpose, to foster peace and cooperation between different worlds, not through control, but through mutual respect. A significant change in policy," noted Carter, sounding skeptical. "Change or fade away," said Vex Morta simply. "The appearance of the Proxima and the rise of Earth makes one thing clear. The galaxy is larger and more complex than we believed. The Council must adapt." Arya's hologram stepped closer to Vex Mortis. 6,000 years ago, this conversation was impossible. Today, it is necessary. Tomorrow, it may lead to a new age for all our peoples." Ambassador Pierce stood. "Earth welcomes this dialogue. We propose a formal conference, representatives from Earth, the Proxima Collective, and the Galactic Council, a chance to establish new protocols for interaction between our civilizations. The first such meeting in our history," said Vex Morta. "I accept." As the meeting concluded, Colonel Jacobs and Lieutenant Commander Foster stood by the window, watching the massive Proxima ships hanging in Earth's orbit alongside the disabled Draconian vessels. "Do you think it will work?" asked Foster. "A genuine peace?" Jacobs smiled slightly. "I think humans just changed the galaxy by saying no to the wrong people at the right time." In his private quarters, John Carter sent one final message, not to the Council, but to a hidden receiver near Earth's moon. "Humanity has passed the test. Proceed with Phase 2. The message disappeared into space, traveling toward a destination only Carter knew, and the future only he could see.